everyone. My name is Donna Peterson, and you are listening to the B2B Marketing Excellence and AI podcast, where every week I bring you marketing tips and tactics that will help you build those relationships that instill trust, because that is how your company will grow year after year. Today, I am so excited because I have my good friend, Matthew McClosky. Matthew McClosky was one of those early adopters of ChatGPT, and he is curious about everything AI. And so I want to pick his brains. I want to find out, how is he utilizing these ChatGPT tools? Hello, Matthew. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, Donna. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I love your podcast.
Oh, thank you very much. You and I have some great in-depth conversations about ChatGPT and AI. And I'm like, we got to hit record. Other people have to hear these great things.
Absolutely. You're an early adopter too. And I really enjoyed that conversation you had with Izzy. Very innovative.
I love it. Let me show you. I have on my desk my little
God,
stand with my phone, and I keep her on and we talk as I'm doing my other work. And it's extremely helpful. So it's
incredible.
wonderful.
Incredible. A new tool.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is what it's all about, these tools to help us do our job effectively.
You're right. You're right. So let's start with, why did you first start even looking at ChatGPT back in November of 2022?
Oh gosh, I've always been eyes wide open when it comes to new technologies to help me with my work. Early CRM systems, going from paper to Excel, jumping into what was called ACT at the time, and then Salesforce, always looking for an edge to help me be successful.
That's
Yeah, so
wonderful. Yep, I agree with you. I'm always curious. In both of our positions, we have to stay ahead of the curve. We got to constantly be looking, is there something else to help us do our jobs better and more efficiently?
of course, and it's a little over 2 years old. I've
I
never
know.
seen technology jump so rapidly. There is no like chat 2.1, 2.2. With each whatever next step of it, it's monumentally better. It's
Yes.
incredible.
It is. That brings me to my next question. You talked about using ChatGPT, but what made you transition to creating custom GPTs?
Look at the technology specifically in sales and in its application. I don't do coding. I'm not really much into generation of the images and as well as content. But what I look for it to do is, how can I take a focus specifically on tasks? So there's two types of tasks. More recently, chat has the 4O
Yeah.
with tasks, and then also building custom GPTs.
What type of custom GPTs have you set up, and why have you found them so useful?
Good question. So first and foremost,
I'm picking your brains here because I am working on our company GPTs and I have a few of them going, and I'm like, what direction? So here I am asking the expert.
absolutely. The one that I created is called the Director of Sales, and you can find that in the GPT store. But what I was looking for was, every now and then you just don't have all the answers,
Yeah.
or maybe you have a few of the answers and you just want to speak to a mentor. You want to speak to somebody who is in your position, maybe above you, who understands the sales process from prospecting, contract resolution, or price negotiation. I trained the Director of Sales GPT on that specifically. It's my go-to when I just want to talk to, quote unquote, somebody like me who has a little bit more experience. And one of the things I find a big advantage, it never forgets. I use that GPT and maybe I'll save a conversation like customer A.
Mhm.
I'll feed it information along the way, like, how would you reply to this email? So that Director
Okay.
of Sales really gives me guidance, and I'm happy to say that it's been well adopted in the GPT store.
Excellent. Now, is the director of sales, do you write that it's on the industrial side or the B2B side versus director of sales across all?
it's all encompassing.
Okay.
You train it as well. You can say, hey, I am in B2B sales, so you can prompt it to your industry. And every now and then, maybe I'll hear something like, for instance, a new guru out there, right? Sales
Yeah.
coaches or something, and I'll train it on that. So it's not just setting it up once and forgetting it. It's about making it better with each revision. There's a new book, a new technique,
Yeah.
some new mathematics or whatever it may be, how to set commission. There's a lot of talk about that lately within the business.
Yeah.
So I'll train the director of sales, GPT, to understand that a little bit more. So if anybody uses that GPT and they speak about, hey, how do I structure a commission as a director of sales? It will give them some guidance. And more importantly, with each interaction, it just keeps on learning.
That's right. For the listeners who may not know, when you have these custom GPTs, you can upload knowledge base information. It could be best practices, an ebook, content you've created. You can upload it all there, giving the knowledge to the GPT.
Of course, I look at the tasks in two ways. My mentor, director of sales, I can go to that for guidance. But there's other tasks which I use the 4O part. If you just drop down, you'll see 4O with tasks. And those tasks I create, for instance, to help me with prospecting. A very simple example would be go to my competitor's website and tell me all of the new advertisers, show me what they're doing, and then let me know about those changes. The tasks part of it is you can have it send you an email weekly or bi-weekly or monthly. In the past, we used to use companies give you a share of market. This is where you're at. You don't have these advertisers. With this task, automated task, I can every 2 weeks, oh, here's a new advertiser on the side. Go right into my CRM system, look for them. They're not there, add them. And if they are there, I now have a new conversation. Go to LinkedIn, see who the contacts are, et cetera, if I don't have them. So there's really two kind of distinct tasks. One, like from a prospecting that I should be doing automatically, but it takes me time. And it's always going back to that particular task because they're almost saved like GPTs. They run in the background and get sent to you on a weekly, however you define it, things. And it's been so helpful.
That is extremely helpful. I had a client call the other day and they had a list of emails and they're like, but Donna, this is of no use to us because now the sales team, which is very small, it's a one-person sales team. He says they now have to go dig through and try to find all the contact details on these email addresses. They don't have this time. And so what you're saying here, when you set up the tasks, and I did it for myself, we do a lot with industrial auction companies, and I like to know what auctions they have coming up. It used to be where I spend the month going to each individual website, looking to see what new auctions are coming up. But I've trained my task or my Izzy AI assistant. Every month, she sends me a report telling me what new auctions are coming up.
Fantastic.
The saving of time is, I've heard people say at least 24 hours. I would have to say when you utilize it to all its different capabilities, it's more, 2 days, at least a week for myself.
Sure. I always look at the cliche, the pie graph. And times that administrative part takes a lot away from finding new business. In sales, we're tasked with two primary things, growth and accountability. All right. Creating opportunities, advancing opportunities, and closing opportunities. That is how I'm defined.
Plus, as a salesperson, you need to be more front and center. You need to be speaking to the people. You don't want to be sitting back here doing all this research. You need to be getting out there because, like we were talking about at the beginning, it's not transactional. It's a relationship. And that's why I really wanted to start the podcast because it's more than what it used to be. It's more than just send a promotion, hopefully they buy. You want to really get to know them so that you nurture them along to stay with you forever.
I want to focus on my task. I'm measured at the end of the quarter, quote unquote, at the end of the year. We're also tasked by bringing in new business. And that is where I need to focus on that growth and accountability, generating opportunities, advancing them, and closing them. That's it. Everything else I do on the side by going to my competitors' websites and researching, see who's new, that takes away from my primary responsibilities. And these tasks make everything so much easier. It's wonderful. It's wonderful to see. And the best part about the tasks, and you can share them.
I love that for like the director of sales, like you were talking about, sometimes you may not know how to say it or to answer a reply. But if you put your whole sales team on this one GPT, and the sales rep in Maine had an issue that came up, and then all of a sudden a sales rep in California has the same, instead of starting from ground zero, they're able to help each other out, which in the end helps the whole company.
Absolutely. I'll give you a quick example on their mundane tasks, but for instance, we have somebody who's curious about our platform. On our website, they can go and fill out information on our media kit. It has their name, their company, some personal contact information, what industry or what areas are you interested in, what part of our company are you interested. And I take that email and I created a media kit request GPT. So I don't feed it any personal details. I cut and paste the information that they're looking for. And I uploaded our media kit as well as our editorial calendar. So instead of the, hey, Donna, here's our media kit. Thank you for contacting.
And then you have to scroll through the whole thing trying to find the information you need. And yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. What the GPT does is picks out part of the areas that they're interested in and the products, and it creates a nice short email that is related to exactly the information they filled out. I'm getting a much higher response rate from doing that. I also add at the bottom, instructed GPT, like at the end, hey, please acknowledge that you received this email and I'll follow up within 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I got a much higher response rate. And I'm happy to say this past quarter closed a request that came in within a week. It's unheard of. But it happened. Yeah, very good, very good. But again, I digress. That GPT, a media kit request, it used to take, okay, here's another media kit request. Let me type out the email. What's the name? Cut and paste. This, I just feed it, cut, paste. It gives a nice email. I send it out.
At the end of the day, what do companies want to work with? They want to work with the company that gives them the information they need right away, follow up with valuable content about that specific area. You just feel confident. You feel like this is the right spot to go. And what else happens here is things don't get lost in the cracks because you're so busy when you're doing your sales, going to trade shows or meeting people in person. It's easy to have 2 weeks where maybe you're not at your desk.
Of course, remember, I can share that.
Yeah.
So I can share it with my colleagues as well who use ChatGPT. So we've taken a task that might take some time. And don't get me wrong, you want to get it in and move on. But if you can get it into an email that's specific to their needs and customized, you always talk about it in your email marketing. And it's funny, we have those conversations. Look at this email. What are they doing here? But again, it's very personalized. I can share it with other team members who want to use it and they can get a nice outcome. And you can do that for so many tasks.
That's so important because whether it's an interest or whether it's a job title, if you can make those emails really resonate with the individual, that is the only way your email will be responded to. And I can see why you're getting such a good response because you're curating this perfect email directly to that person.
Exactly. They always change too. Remember, I just said a minute ago at the bottom of the email, I had a statement, please acknowledge this email, because quite frankly, when I first built it, it didn't have that. And I thought, you know what? I need to have them acknowledge that they received the email.
Yeah.
So it provides that instant feedback, not every time they respond, but higher than normal.
Hmm.
So like I said, up to a 50% response rate. And with that conversation started, you can then take that reply, feed it back into that conversation that
Right.
started it,
Because
and
then you can
go from
say,
there.
yeah, because then you go to GPT or the task folder and you can say, okay, I know they received this email, so they read it. Now, what should be my next message? Versus you sent out the email, you're not quite sure if they opened it or read it. What do you send them next? You send the same thing again, but now you're able to build upon that email that you sent to them.
Absolutely. The smallest part of the pizza pie, I
Hmm.
want to shrink that. I want to take those tasks and make them smaller. I'm responsible for growth and accountability at the end of the day. It's opportunities. I need to feed them into the data, into my CRM, and I need to close them. And any task outside of that pizza pie just has that slice has to get smaller and smaller.
This is interesting because when I talk to a lot of manufacturers, the thing I'll hear is our marketing team is 0 or 1. Our sales team is really strapped. But it
Mhm.
sounds like what you're talking about here could save them a lot of time, but also improve their responses because now they have this assistant helping them pull all those details together and a memory so that maybe you're dealing with this type of person here in February, won't have it again until June. But if you put it into the GPT, it'll give you that information back again.
It makes it much easier. And
Yeah.
smarter is probably a cliche term, but it speeds up the task to focus on the job.
It's also organized.
Of course.
Because otherwise, you would go back, maybe manually, go to a bunch of folders trying to find that email or go through your computer looking for that email that you wrote to the person. Now, like your media kit idea, instead of
Mhm.
people going and scrolling through a whole media kit, they could go in and say, okay, can we do an email blast with you? And I'll get right to the point.
To the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because I can't tell you how many times with publishers, maybe they don't have an email blast listed on the media kit. So then I need to call them. And then, am I getting the right person? And they'll say, oh, you're in Connecticut. I can't handle you. You need to speak to so and so. Then I go to another person. So the process can take 2, 3, or longer days. But
Mhm.
it sounds like setting up a GPT like this could save a lot of time.
Absolutely. The internet is all about speed and sales. And as soon as I get that email from that request, I would like to get that back to them immediately.
Yeah.
So time is of the essence. And then it sets me up a call for quote unquote follow up in 2 weeks.
Mhm. From your guidance and your suggestions to me, we have the World Innovators GPT, but now I'm going to put it onto our website so that right at the top, people could go into the World Innovators GPT. And if they want to know about email marketing, or maybe they want to talk about what's best practices or our strategy on building that relationship, they can just type in the words and they'll get back podcast episodes that would be appropriate to listen to, blogs that would be great to read. They don't have to do that whole looking through your whole website and all your content.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I would also instruct that GPT, if they were in a specific area and
Yeah.
they're asking questions around email marketing, to pause and say, hey, would you like to contact us
Yes.
immediately? And then redirect them right to your telephone number, or even use the GPT to pop out, hey, give me a call right now. But
So
a
that's
way to redirect them back to either you and through your telephone or even to your website. Get them on that website. Take them from the GPT, bring them into you,
yeah.
get them on the phone. You want to speak to them.
That's what I did instruct it to say, like after 5 times when
Right.
they've come in and asked information, I just said, please mention to them if they'd like to discuss their specific audience with me, please feel free to give me a call or to email me, and then the details will be shown to them. Is that what you're saying? Or you're saying I should tweak it a different way?
Absolutely. You
Okay.
prompt it to ask the customer, hey, X. What do you want to do?
Mm.
We just heard, I think it was yesterday, over 400 million users on it. So your audience is huge. Get that world innovator GPT in that GPT area of chat.
This is another thing for our listeners is these GPTs, like you said you're doing with Sales Director, can be a great marketing channel for your company.
Absolutely. Whole different, that's a whole different solution, if you will. How to get your company's products into that GPT store. Because remember, you go to that GPT store, there's thousands of them in there. Be very specific on quote unquote, I'm looking for a GPT on email marketing. They find world innovators email marketing, and that GPT is set up to get people to your website or to call you. But yes, I see those GPTs as the URLs were today, if you will. Like people are going to go into that marketplace of GPTs and look for solutions. They're there already.
What I'm doing, I'm speaking at an event and because you only have a short period of time, so they can't really read what's on the entire screen. I just said, I've uploaded the whole thing into the World Innovators GPT. You can go there, ask to see it, and you'll be able to quietly go through it versus trying to read it in the middle of a presentation. It's amazing how useful it would be. So what would be your advice right now for a new user looking at maximizing the AI experience? What do you think they should do?
I focus on sales primarily, and I do some stuff at home. Like I created a senior care advocate. My parents are getting a little bit older, so it's really difficult to manage medication, see what they're doing with Medicare. So I have that personal side to it. But from a company standpoint, just look at the task. Is traffic down on your website? Can we use the GPT to increase traffic? So be very specific and try to identify a current problem that you're having. That would be the advice. Just start with an idea.
Even like what you're just talking about, troubleshooting or frequently asked questions. If you had a GPT for that, again, people don't have to spend the time researching to try to find the answers. They can go in and say, okay, this is my problem. How do we solve it? And
for sure, keep them very specific. So when somebody is searching that GPT store, they find it. Advertise it. We have this tool in GPT. You send out an email blast to all your customers. Take a look at it. Put that GPT in your marketing. It's not going anywhere and it's only getting bigger. Of course, I agree with you. It's wonderful technology. There's a whole new generation coming up that is 30-second mentality. They're looking something quick, and
they don't want to be searching around websites for the answer. That's where these GPTs can be the answer, the quick answer that everyone is looking for now.
Absolutely. 400 million users. And
wow.
I'd be curious what the demographics of those are. But as a father who has children in the 20s, just talking with them, how are you getting your information? There's a shift. We saw it from print to digital, and it's almost, there's now this digital AI shift.
Yes.
And then the conversations is what audience is going to use the digital AI shift. This whole new audience that's coming in there.
And you're right. It's all along the way in our careers, new technology has come up and you have to evolve.
That's right.
And we have to learn how to use it. Matthew, thank you so much for your insight today. I know I found it helpful and I'm sure my audience did also.
I really appreciate your time and I love listening to your podcast, and keep up the good work. They're wonderful. I wake up in the morning and put them on and just listening to them. And boy, I have customers that can benefit greatly from your advice. So keep up the good work. And thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I encourage our listeners to experiment with ChatGPT, the GPTs, the tasks. I think you'll find them extremely useful. Subscribe to our podcast, the B2B Marketing Excellence in AI podcast. Share it with your colleagues. Let's inspire success. If you want to connect with us, go to our YouTube channel at World Innovators or our LinkedIn profile, which is World Innovators also. Talk to you soon, everyone. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the World Innovators B2B Marketing Excellence and AI podcast. If you'd like to be updated when new episodes come out, don't forget to subscribe. Also, check out our social media accounts to stay up to date on B2B marketing trends.